wanted to ask about your distribution, because that's probably the biggest leg you had to stand on. What was it in the beginning, and how were you able to grow that?
Well, the initial distributor was that I used was City Hall Records, which we would ship them like a box of 25 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a good little distributor for jazz, and they got us into a lot of places we needed to be. Tower Records, Barnes and Noble, Borders, Virgin. I think that Virgin might have been around at that time initially. I'm not sure Virgin was around back then. I know the New Orleans store was not right off the bat.
I don't recall.
But their New Orleans store definitely was by the time 2005 rolled around. I just don't remember if it was in '97. But they definitely were in 2000, because we did an in-store there in 2000. I remember that. So, but they got us into where we needed to go. Then in 2004, I switched over to a company called Red, which was, but we got into, Red is a big distributor owned by Sony. But Red requires its labels or label groups to have a threshold that we weren't achieving sales-wise.
Gotcha.
So we had to get into Red through a label group called MRI, which was started by Metallica. It was to help some of their, I think, some of the friends' bands.
Yeah.
To help them, to help those
Sure.
artists get it distributed.
Yeah.
So we went that channel, and I think, and we're still with them as far as U.S. distribution goes. I also have a distributor in the U.K. that's been with us for a long time, a distributor in the Netherlands that's been with us for a long time. I had a distributor in Japan that was a smaller distributor that got us into Tower Records over there, and when an artist would go over there, they would follow them around and sell at the shows.
Cool.
So we had a variety of things that, and then we also, somewhere around that time, it's kind of fuzzy, but we added digital, and we signed with a company called IOTA, which is now called The Orchard. And The Orchard bought Red.
Okay.
And they're all owned by Sony.
Okay.
And then to add to that Sony thing is that the company that we use to create our mechanical royalty statements and properly pay our songwriters and publishers for the songs, I signed with a company called Royalty Share. And Royalty Share became The Orchard. So Sony, through The Orchard, takes little bits of everything we do.
Sure.
So the iPhone is 14 years old now, something like that.
Yeah.
Before the iPhone, we were still, I think it was like 2008-ish, 9. So I think this was all, I try to measure up like Katrina versus digital.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But these hurdles that I'm constantly dealing with, some of them extremely major, like losing my wife or losing my home. And then the hurdles like Walmart and Circuit City and Best Buy and all of that garbage. And I say garbage because Walmart destroyed music retail, in my opinion. They devalued music when they offer $7.99 CDs to get people in the door and demand that the wholesale price be lower for them than anyone else.
Yeah.
And that kind of, we had a bad experience trying to sell to them one time, but the whole big box retail thing kind of destroyed the value of music initially. It was a big hurdle. That was a big one. But then dealing with some of the better companies, the Tower Records and Borders and Barnes and Noble, some of the bigger chains, that was really a lot of good. It worked for us well. But when they weren't there anymore, we went to digital, or to looking at the 30 best independent record stores in the country.
Yeah.
That worked better. And then someplace like Louisiana Music Factory, which I say someplace like, but there's no place like. For us, it's the place, music retail place. There are other really good music retailers here in New Orleans that have been around for a long time as well. And we like to sell to Peaches and Euclid Records and Nola Mix and Sisters in Christ, and there's all kinds of great record stores in the city. But no place like Louisiana Music Factory for us over the years. Mm-hmm. But there's, but we had other spots, Waterloo and the Tower Records around the country, and the Virgin Megastores around the country all helped us get our music out there. Yeah. And were available for us to do in stores when we asked, when our artists would go to town. And we were utilizing that opportunity.
Yeah.
But then the hurdle of digital music and downloads with the introduction of like the iPhone and Napster and so forth, that was really good for a while. And I had finally kind of bought into downloads, and we offer downloads on our website.
Just kind of bought into the idea of it, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I still would prefer someone, even today, I'd prefer someone buy a CD from us.
Sure.
We have a lot. We have a lot in self-storage. We have a lot in inventory. Yeah. I'd prefer people buy CDs. It's a better, or vinyl. But we don't put a lot of things on vinyl yet. But I'd prefer that. But I was finally okay, downloads. Well, you're buying a download. It's the most effective means of distribution. You're not shipping from our, take a CD. Manufacturer to us, which goes probably to some here, some self-storage. Yeah. Then if it's going to like Borders or Barnes & Noble, forget about Borders, they're not around anymore. Barnes & Noble, you're going to go to their central warehouse, then you're going to go to the store. And then when there's returns, you're going to go back to the central warehouse, and then back to our distributor, and then back to us. It's just, that's not effective. It's a lot of costs involved in all of that CD or vinyl movement. So a download, right now while we're speaking, somebody could be downloading.
Sure.
$9.99 is going into our bank a day or two from now, and we pay our mechanical royalties to the songwriters and the publishers a few months later. The $1 a piece from that album sale, approximately. The rest gets split up. On the consumer's end, they've got all the music in CD quality.
Sure.
They've got all the artwork. They've got the CD booklet in digital format. They can see the line. They see the credits. They see all the people that went into making that music.
Sure.
And it's great. And we still sell a few downloads now, but streaming is so convenient. And I'm certainly guilty of
everyone. No matter how you feel about it.
Of saying, hey, play
whatever.
Earth, Wind, and Fire radio.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's coming each 15th of the month.
Yeah.
I don't know what's coming. And the money gets wired, and the Orchard gets our music out to 60 different platforms. They accumulate all the money and they take their percentage, send us the rest. Goes into our bank. It's reliable. It's a very reliable, I like the company. That we get paid on time. Mm-hmm. The statements, all of the digital data, the tens of thousands of lines of data of ISRC codes, which is the unique identifier for the song, and the UPC code, all that stuff is all in the file, and all that data gets uploaded into royalty share, or the Orchard now for the mechanical royalty processing.
Yes.
The system all works, but it's a kind of a black box, and I don't necessarily know why YouTube pays us this, and Spotify pays us this, and Tidal pays us this, and
Yeah.
but we end up getting something, and it's usually enough to pay my employee, and it's usually enough to pay for our self-storage unit, and it's usually enough to pay mechanical royalties. And then if there's more money left, we can maybe make an album, or reorder some inventory,
Yeah.
or consider signing a new artist.
Yeah.
So saying all that, it's like we used to make all these records that cost us quite a bit of money to make, hiring all of the artists, the
Sure.
studio costs and all that. But over the last 5 years, we've more been forced to take a finished product. So the artists that we've signed, I want to make sure I didn't leave anybody off. After Katrina, I guess we signed Jeremy Davenport, DeVille Crawford, the Rebirth Brass Band. We signed a young artist named Soraya. We signed Lena Prima, Bonarama, and most recently we signed Kevin and the Blues Groovers.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the more recent albums have been licensing deals, finished product. We pay to manufacture, we pay to the small amounts to advertise and promote initially, and we just, if they sell, they sell, and if we can continue to promote, we continue to, we put the money that comes in into promotion, but we don't put ourselves in the hole very far anymore. We just can't afford that.
Sure.
Because we have just no idea.
Yeah, it's a shallow pool.
What's going to go into the bank that month.
Yeah. In the beginning, with the exception of Kermit Ruffins, you were involved in making that. But, shortly thereafter, was it a similar model, not so much as how things have become digital, but was it a similar model where you were taking on artists that had a finished product in hand?
Take John Cleary's albums. John did record most of that album, and I bought it from him.
Okay.
Initially, the second album, that's when we signed. He had already worked on an album quite a bit, and I bought it, paid back all of the costs, and then paid for all the promotion and marketing. It was basically traditionally the way we had done it, except that he had taken care of getting everybody paid initially, and I paid him back.
Yeah.
And when John stopped doing records with me, it was because I did not want to. He wanted to own masters, and I didn't want to do business that way. And that's got its advantages to an artist who's equipped to capitalize on owning the master. But owning a master, which I own a lot of, only goes so far.
As far as you can push it.
Yeah, that's owning the masters, just like owning artwork on the walls. It's if it's sitting there on the wall, unless you're doing something to push it. So
yeah.
So John started doing albums that I wasn't prepared to do at that time on his own, and finding companies that would license his music from him, which I wasn't doing at that time. So, but that was the first time I was thinking, well, maybe I could do licensing. And so when I've really run into these situations where I really don't want to sink, I don't want to put 30 grand into making an album. I've gone to that model more. I'd like to continue to go back to, setting up studio time and all of that, but that's not my forte. I don't know anything about the recording process other than the little bit that I witnessed when I go by and hand people checks. It's just not something I ever cared to learn about.